Bing bong, bing bong, bing bong. Hello. Oh no, I forgot to move my mic down. Come here. Hello. Hello, 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 hello. 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 Give me one sec. Bring it in for the real thing. There we go. It's me. Wow. Oh, interesting. The views indicator on the stream dashboard is going away. I guess that's fair. It wasn't really a great metric, I guess. So I understand. I understand. Anyways, send me. Boom. What we're working on today is OpenCFace GD. I have decided we're just gonna bite the bullet. We're not gonna use the fancy UI tooling right now, if only because it's very difficult to use the fancy UI tooling. Or it's not very difficult, it's just that it requires a lot more work that I guess I'm just not willing to put in right now. Like it's tough. It's tough. It's one of those things where it's just really tough. Because I just don't have enough time. There's not enough time. Is tough. Like if I had like all day to just work on random open source stuff, I'd do it. Unfortunately, that is not the case. That is absolutely not the case. You know what? What the heck? Oh, that's a helicopter. Okay. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but there's like a really loud like swah 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 swah. That's not. It's like a, I don't know. It's just like a random. I can't even describe it. It's like a helicopter sound almost, but not quite. Outside my window, very loud. It's pretty wild. I do remember seeing like just a news copter flying pretty low about half an hour ago. So I guess it's just kind of flying over. It's doing a low flyby over the entire city, I guess. Don't know how that works. But here we are. Let me see. Something that I do need to do. I didn't know this existed because I'm a big dummy. But we can do... We can hit this with like a screen sensor. And I should also turn on high DPI mode as well. So... Let me see. We'll do OS screen size. Screen size. No, that's screen size. I need to do OS window size is equal to screen size times 0.75. I think that's okay. And then we'll want to do OS center window. Yeah. Instead of whatever the heck I've been doing now, which is just trying to manually resize it and then try to guess as to where the center of the new window is relative to everything else. Oh, you know what? I could also make it like borderless and then provide my own exit. No, that'd be weird. That'd be weird. I think I prefer having the native window decoration, although in some instances it can look a bit better to have just the like a themed window decoration that fits in with the rest of the ambiance, you know? High DPI mode. Alright. Really quick fix. Ugh. It's beautiful. I don't remember what the default runner does, but I believe VRM runner should load me into this thing. Okay. Cool. Which means that we can now open up this, open up, OpenC. Man, that is really close. Hold on. BRV. That is so close. I need to check. Yeah, there's just like a helicopter. I thought you had to get a permit to fly that low because of the downdraft. Downforce? Downdraft? Downforce? Dragon Force? Okay. Now let me see if I can remember where I stopped. I remember I was doing a lot of testing, but I don't remember. Oh, I don't have gut running, so let's run gut. I caved and installed gut because it is just nice to have something that can run all your tests for you. Let me see, we can run like gut run current script. Oh baby, look at that. Runnable from the UI. Ooh. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So let me see. I know I had a write up somewhere. Let me see if I can find the write-up. So in the docs, there's like a high-level architecture, extensions. So there's an extension context. And then everything is loaded relative to that context. Yeah, and then an extension resource. That's probably fine. Extension manager. Okay. So there's loading resources and loading GD native resources. Okay. I think this one should probably be refactored now that I've come back to it with a clean perspective. I feel like load resource should automatically just wrap load GD native resource. I'm not sure if that's possible though. Maybe. Hard to say. So to do this might need to be refactored. Okay. But anyways, runner trait. Don't I just have like a bunch of runners? What am I looking for? Add-ons, new. Export, no, we don't care about exports. We do have a bunch of models, extensions, we have all of these traits, context and resources. Extensions, all right, there's the INI files. So VRM, what is this? So the runner entry point is vrm.gd. Okay. So something that might be kind of hard is that there's no way to do like a visual UI, I think. Maybe there is. Oh, actually, that's why I was making the oh yeah. That's why I was making the UI thing. It's because I wanted to have a visual UI. But here we are. Still stuck on no visual UI, you know, that face one. No visual UI. Okay. But we do have a GUI. So when we load in the runner, let me see if I can find it. Also, is there a way to turn this off so it doesn't just jump to wherever? It doesn't just jump to the file. I think I'm okay with it. I've started to notice this. It's really starting to get on my nerves. Explorer. Side by side, blah, blah, blah. Confirm delete, no. Confirm drag and drop. Probably not. How do I turn off jump to? Get decorations. Task Explorer? Test Explorer. Controls whether the Explorer should automatically reveal and select files when opening them. Focus, no scroll. Yes, that's what we want. So you go to here, and then you can just click, yeah. So if I click on this, then I can still scroll and try to find, yeah, okay, that's beautiful. All right, now, what is our main entry point? So our main entry point is the landing screen. And then once you select one of these, it's run runner. We do all of this stuff. We do some weird scene tree manipulation. So, okay. Runner is pack scene. Then runner is equal to runner.instance. I think I'll need to do a test. We'll need to do a test. Ignore this. Open cface GD. Where are we here? So there's the logger. This doesn't seem right. Am I using logger? Am I using that logger class? I thought I changed this out for something else. Maybe not. Or this might be really old as well. Yeah, you know what? I think this doesn't seem right. Rename logger GD. Logger already exists at path. All right, reload me. Something got messed up here. It happens though. It happens a lot actually. Save config base element. Yeah, so the GUI is still all kinds of messed up. So git diff high DPI mode. Is this really true? LS utils. So logger should be under lowercase, not undercase, lowercase. Or is it because, all right, git remove utils logger git, or okay, cached git add utils logger GD. Please rename it. Yeah, there we go. And then everything else is more or less the same. What has changed in screens? Oh, that's fine. Git commit. Use high DPI mode. Rename. Correctly rename logger. What else did I do? Add notes to extension manager. So we'll push it. So now we're at a clean slate. I need to check to see if it's possible to, well, first things first, really quickly, let's open up a file from that thing I was looking at before, Grid Auto Battler. It's a little thing I'm working on the side. So I'm using a custom client. So every day, the version of Godot that I'm using for this gets even more strange. I feel like, oh, maybe. Actually, that's probably true. We do need to have this check. But here we have one thing. Oh, maybe it's not here. Maybe it needs to be. All right, this logger doesn't actually exist, by the way. It's this logger. Why is this red? One problem in this file. Logger already exists at this path. All right, you know what? Get refreshed. This happens. Or you know what? Close this. Reload. All right, and then we can open this up. Bring back OBS. All right, it's beautiful. It is beautiful. Maybe it's not. We can fix this manually. So on project.godot, there should be a logger, class logger, and there should only be one. Yeah, logger. The cache is kind of messed up, but that just happens sometimes. We can do this, and which then breaks a bunch of other stuff. Unique global class logger already exists at path logger GD. I don't know why that happens. So if I go into, oh, it's because of it added another file. What are you doing? Stop. Stop it. All right, Godot is confused. This is confused. Bring me back. Git restore utils. All right, what is this? All right, git restore project.godot. Open me back up. Something has gotten very messed up. It's probably because of VS Code, actually, because VS Code was holding on to an old version of the file as well. Maybe. Yeah, something was messed up with the cache. I think we're good, though. No! No, because now we have another logger. That's, okay, hold on. Hear me out. Copy this. Hard delete. And then we'll just bring it back. So it'll be logger reference create. No. Why is it doing this? All right, so this should break everything. That's very weird. I don't know what's going on. So that should remain broken. I have this copied. Go back to utils. Like, it's like something exists when it shouldn't exist. Yeah, so there's no logger here. Is there a way for me to completely refresh the cache? So we go to here. What I can do is unstar this. We'll just find it, I guess. Also remove missing. Remove missing. So remove. Don't delete the project. Then we'll re-import it. Import and edit. Bring me into here, and then we'll recreate the file. Actually, we'll probably recreate the file here. Delete this. So utils, we'll create it externally. So we'll just kind of slap it in here. All right, I think that fixed it. Maybe. Maybe. Or I might need to completely yeet the dot import thingy. It also looks like dot mono is still here. I don't know why there's a dot mono thing. Probably don't want to have that. All right, cool. Cool. But anyways, in App Manager, I need to do this. All right, that's fine. Yeah, everything is still fine. So we'll do if class DB class exit, please class DB. All right, we'll just do this externally. That's fine. App Manager. I've noticed this happening more and more, where I just don't get code completion. On this one, we're not getting code completion because we're disconnected. Hey, what are you doing? Why is everything broken? This one's broken because... Oh my god. Send me. My environment's broken. I don't know why. So extension manager's broken. That happens sometimes. We'll just close that for now. Plugin entry points. Don't remember what this is supposed to do. Oh, it's a test extension. That's fine. Get added this. Let me see. Extension manager. Does this have any errors? No? App manager doesn't have any errors? Okay. Okay, we're back. class DB, class exists. So we're looking for redirect. Then if that exists, then we'll do OS get singleton. Single is not, oh, it's engine get singleton. Engine get singleton redirect. We'll connect to print, I think it's called print line. Yeah, function redirect print line text is error. Yeah, self on standard error. So we do need to check to see if it even is like standard error or not. So what this does, it's a custom engine patch, basically, that adds a new singleton that hooks into how Godot logs to the console. So whenever you print or print error, it actually prints it to standard outs and standard error. So in this case, what I want to do is I want to catch those. And most importantly, I want to catch the standard errors because I don't believe those are actually logged correctly. I think they might still be caught by the log file, but it is kind of hard for some things. It doesn't catch everything, I think. That's my suspicion. I have no proof though, but that's because we're not catching it at all, so I can't prove it. So if is error, then we'll do I have a logger? I do have a logger. So logger error. Okay, cool. So this will only fire, and you might notice that we're doing this entirely via strings. We're doing this entirely via strings because there's no concept of like preprocessor defines in GD scripts. So if I were to do this using the singleton directly, in a version of the editor that did not have my redirect patch, it would break, which is very cool. Very cool. Great feature. Well, I suppose to be fair, preprocessor defines aren't very common in anything except for like C, C++, and C#. I guess Rust has them as well. Yeah. Extension resource, extension manager, query extensions, find in extensions. Most of these I don't think I need to worry about. Query extensions for type, find in extensions, get context, load resource, runner traits. It's always hard coming back to this kind of stuff. What's your error? Reload me. Parse extension gives me a result. Did results fail to load in? So tests, no. Result. So that's fine. Okay, sure. We can do it this way if you want. Weird how it wasn't able to figure itself out. Yeah, because it does have a set type. Yeah, something got mixed up in translation, I suppose. That's fine. That's fine. Extension manager. Load resource, and then here, what we do in landing screen is we hit it with a run runner. Okay, query extensions for type runner. And then we look for the entry points of that thingy. So for our situation with the VRM stuff, according to this config ini, the entry point is VRM GD. And then inside of VRM GD, what does this look like? This does everything. It also inherits from the default runner. What is default runner? Where is this? Screens default runner. Okay, good to know. So you can choose to inherit from that, but also I believe on export this should, I think this should still work, I think. I haven't actually checked. I should check that actually. I should check that. I should check that. You never know. So let me see. This is where we want to, oh, that's the export path. Then this one, export templates, open CFace GD. You know what? I don't think I want to use export templates. I think I want to use the general one here. So Godot release templates, Godot custom, export project to this location. Why not? Send me. Please no crash. Oh baby, okay. So export templates, I don't think I need this. Say goodbye. Which means that this breaks, but that's fine. I'll just need to recompile later. Then we still have all the older files here, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. Where is it? Or did it not? Where did it export to? Oh, it exported to Windows. Exported to Windows. Yeah, because it has everything just in the file already, except for the resources folder, which is probably pretty important. Oh, cancel that. Just delete the entire folder. So that should just run. It did not, so that's good. Let's check the logs. Hold on. Close all of these. Don't remember what any of this stuff is. I do have just a lot of garbage. Canvas, that's fine. I don't remember what this is. Main, nope. Save file, nope. None of these loggers are needed. Yeah, I think this is already done as well. Okay, hooray. Closing everything. It's always a nice feeling. It's app data, roaming, Godot, user data. Where is it? Logs. What the heck is this? Gut editor BB code. It's a BB code file. What is that? So a GD script. Load source code. Oh, this is it's a good sign. Cannot load source code from file. Is logger? Oh, hold on. I think I got it. So resources is ultra broken. So GD native runtime loader, we should be loading that in. Gut we don't want. Gut, actually I think we don't want to do any of these anymore. VRM we want to load in everything. Duck we still want to load in. Styles probably. VRM models, in terms of assets probably not. Default theme, I think I want that. Yeah, I think I was just missing a bunch of stuff. So main lights, sun, all these things I want. Yeah, I see. I was just missing a bunch of stuff. So everything in model, nothing in resources. Screens, we need to get rid of everything in GUI at some point. But for now, we won't worry about it too hard. So here we want to load in everything here. Actually, I'm pretty sure this still won't be able to load in. Maybe. Maybe. No, okay. It is very small. It is very small. Why is it so small now? So this loads in. Oh. No, it's not. How was it loading in before? So, window or aspect ratio expand. Is that what I want? No. Keep. No. I think I need to change it to like maybe viewports. I don't think viewport's correct. It does make it very big, but also very pixelated, which I don't think is correct. Hold on. Maybe 2D, but 2D isn't what you want for this kind of stuff, right? I don't know. Because if you're using high DPI mode, you need to have this. Stretch mode. Maybe I need guidance. One of the few things I don't really get in 3D. So Godot, high DPI, too small. Yes, I've already searched this before. Help with allow high DPI setting. Multiple head. Oh. What's the new message? Who is this? Who sent me a message? Okay. Rendering quality dynamic fonts use oversampling. No. Stretch mode 2D. No. High DPI leads to wrong window scale. I'm not using a MacBook, but I do have a very big screen. Everyone's doing like Mac OS stuff, but all right, well, we can turn off high DPI mode. That's fine. Now it's just kind of blurry, but that's probably fine. All right, give me a shot. Give me another shot, just to see if it works. Export all of that. Windows. All of these should more or less be correct. Okay, so you have your default runner, and then we just immediately crash. That's a good start. So what happened? Runner file not found. And then runner file not found again. That's good. Failed loading the default duck model. Okay. So default runner, code 44, description, nothing. Runner file not found. Where is runner file not found called from? So runner trait. Try load. So this is file not found. So in the default runner, what happens? Oh, is this using a... Oh, I see. I see. Wait, no, that should still be fine, right? Because this is exported. Did I not export this? That should just be available across most things. I want to see gut. VRM models, no. Duck. Where is the duck? Entities, yes. Include the duck. Do it again. Just to make sure. So we'll start by testing this initially. Default runner. Okay, cool. So we can start making the GUI for this, and then we can start making the rest of the stuff. So I can provide a default, like, completely hard-coded GUI, and then I'll just at some point have to release the fancier GUI extension. I'm still not sure how you would be able to, I guess, access this stuff from the extension whatevers. I'll have to think about it. There's a lot of ways that you can go with this, right? Extensions. So like, how would a runner access like different model configs? Actually, how do I do that? How do I even do it like right now, right? So for the VRM, thing, how do I... Oh, I see. I see. So VRM model script path. So I think this actually needs to be changed. So this is something I don't actually need to... I don't need to re-export to test. I already know that this is wrong. And I also know this is kind of wrong, but, you know, hard-coded for testing, that's fine. Oh, do I not even use this? Okay, cool. Cool. Alright. Oh, okay, look at that. Okay, here's an example. So, extension manager, find in extensions. This thing. We get the script result. Okay, cool. Script results, so resource entry point. Now, hold on. We look at the config INI again. Script result, find in extensions. How does this work? So find in extensions. Oh man, how the heck did I make this work? Like there's a comment, right? Like finds a given value in extension using Godot style node syntax. Yeah. The variants found for the query. I don't think this is actually a variant, by the way, but maybe it is. Split query, blah blah. Key is valid integer. Value is not null. I'm thinking. Extensions. So parse extensions. Then extension new path. Oh, and then parse extension section. Yeah. So scans the scan folder for folders, scan path for folders for each folder. The resource config file is read, and the extension is added to the list of known extensions. What column is in user code? Blah blah blah. And the extension is added to the list of known things. Parse extension section, and then it just gets the full path. Is that how it works? Yeah, okay. Cool. I think this is this actually needs to be extended. I think this actually needs to be extended so it's easier to, or so one, it's possible to have nested extensions. Yeah, so I see what I did here. I'm starting to remember. It's all coming back to me. It's all coming back to me. So what I do is if you have extensions, it parses the entire extension folder based off of this config ini file. Actually, hold on. Yeah, no, that's totally fine. Because I just put it together. I put it together from the entry point. So if you have a nested extension or whatever, yeah. So if you, these files are actually already direct paths. These are already absolute paths. Yeah. But these are the only entry points known to the extension manager. Now, if your files need to access other things, then they can access other files via the context. And then that needs to be a relative path. Yeah, actually everything is a relative path, more or less, but you know. So, parse extension section. So this reads in an extension, or it parses an extension section. Parses extension section and registers the, it's more or less an absolute path. Registers the absolute path to the entry points in the, registers the absolute path to the entry point. Yeah, something like that. The only files known to the extension manager are entry point files. After that, files need to be accessed via the context. Okay, cool. And then parse extension, what this does is it runs through, yeah, it runs through every single section. So, run through, or iterate through every section in the extensions ini file. So checks for necessary metadata and then iterates through every section in the extensions ini file. There we go. Beautiful. Love it. And all of these are more or less nicely commented. So there's a load resource, whatever. Status. What's the diff? Turn off high DPI mode. Fix some tests. Whatever. Run all. I have a few errors, but that's totally fine. Should be maximized. Exit on success. I don't know why my thing is kind of broken here, but that's fine. A few errors, but that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Look at that. Show pop-up. Show whatever. I don't think I actually got around to finishing this. Yeah, so these are stubs. So this is this is the old notification manager. Okay, so let's finish doing that really quick. So I can get rid of the old notification manager, which 100% does not work. So git commit add all. So add additional what's it called? Method notes? Docs. dot strings for extension loading, turn off high DPI mode. We're not gonna push it just yet. Although I think it should still work, because I think it does just work from the command line. So this is the command line interface, right? So gut run all. Yeah, I think it still works, maybe? I'm not sure. It says it's still failing. So that's not good. Docker test. What happened? We have a few errors. Yeah, I guess like just a bunch of things broke. What happened? What happened? So, test base config. We can run current script. Is there a problem with this one? No, this passes here, but this is failing. Well, I mean, that's an expected fail, by the way. That's an expected fail. What happened? So go to tests, model, config, test base config, go to gut. Yeah, that's a total success. We have some errors as well. So, is it just because it took too long? Malloc consolidate, invalid chunk size. You know what? Timeout, monitor command dumped core. That's good. That's probably not good. It looks like something just kind of broke in the GitHub runner. So what I can do here is in probably it's probably in the extension manager. Yeah, the extension manager is probably all kinds of borked. Did I not? Yeah, I'm probably not sending the environment variable correctly, right? I think it's this one that's crashing the CI, but VSS env. So this should be injected, by the way. So in Godot tests, I am just slapping this into the env. It doesn't appear like it has. No, VSS env, it's there. Set up env var into the GitHub env. Yeah, I know what that does. Maybe it's just not being caught. Maybe it's just not being caught. So what I can do is add another check here. So Godot test, I think that's fine. Let me see. test extension manager. So if that is true, or OS get feature. All right, is it engine get feature? Engine get features. Feature. How do I know there's a way to check the features, right? So Godot check features. Feature tags. Yes. Yes. OS has feature. Yeah. So if OS has feature server, I think, or OS has feature. Okay, yeah, has feature server. Yeah, because we absolutely do not want to run that in CI, I think. Git commit all, fix up, interactive head, fix up, hit it with a push force so we squash the commits. All right, I need to see what's happening. Something doesn't seem right. Something doesn't seem right about the CI here. Give me the details. Give me the deets. I'm also pretty sure that there's a better way of running just the gut tests as well, since I've noticed every single time I run the tests, it actually downloads a copy of like Linux headless, which might be pretty slow. Oh no. What happened? Okay. Interesting. Interesting. So I think that this isn't working. I'm not sure. I think I'm just gonna open an issue on my own repo. Let me see. Get environment PSSENV is crashing, is not working in CI builds. Assign myself. That's a bug. Add it to a project. There are some tests that cannot be run in CI, e.g. runtime loading GD native libraries. These tests are toggled off or toggled to return early. Hold on, actually. Well, I don't have the logs anymore because they actually flushed the logs, so that doesn't exist anymore. Toggle it to return early by checking for the existence of an environment variable called currently. This does not appear to be working. A workaround is in place for the feature, but this is not ideal. Look at that. It is beautiful. Awaiting triage to do. So the error was in Can't emit. Oh, I see. It's test interpolation data. Does this work? Run current script. Huh. Really? Is this because of like CI? Or is it just because like it doesn't run fast enough? I mean, it shouldn't matter, I think. Or do you, yeah. Oh, you know what? This is almost certainly because of how the CI build works. It's almost certainly it. Actually, and why are some of these errors as well? That seems kind of weird. Run all. What do the logs look like? So this is just all standard out, which we shouldn't be seeing, but we are seeing. Kind of. That's actually, I'm also noticing that. Is error a reserved word in the the GitHub logs? What the heck? Using default logger for abstract manager. Is that an error actually on my end as well? So abstract manager for get script get scripts resource name. It's a bit weird actually. Yeah. I've never noticed that, but it does just kind of break, right? Test config manager. So does the config manager not use, hold on, test, or no, just regular config manager. No, it should be. It should be. Test, oh, this is test abstract manager. Yeah, test abstract manager, test abstract manager. Test abstract manager. I mean, I guess it's fine. This one, though, I'm a little concerned because it just failed. Can't emit non-existing signal, bone interpolation rates. And it didn't give me a line as well, which is very cool. Test interpolation data cannot emit this signal. So, bone interpolation rate. Is this something that doesn't exist? Like this should be fine, right? Probably. Or does this need to be registered? Bone interpolation rates. Okay. Interpolation data. I need to check. So, interpolation stuff. All these other things, very complicated. Yeah, actually, is that wrong? Is this wrong? Like, these are all fine. So for I in listen values are base interpolation rate. Or hold on. Maybe it's because pub/sub. Yeah. Is it because there is no signal for this? So there's only like 3 signals I even have pre-registered. So there's logger rebroadcast, update label text, and then model loaded. So that might be okay. Hold on. But no. That's not right. Extension manager, interpolation data. Where is it? Send me back. I don't know where I am. Test interpolation data. Is it not called bone interpolation rate? It might be called base interpolation. No, it's bone interpolation rate. It should have been registered already. I suppose what I can do is like force it to check, because it appears that, like, in the CI build it just kind of fails for whatever reason. Yeah, it looks like it just fails in CI. I don't know why. So in register, wrapper for subscribing an object to the pub sub can be blah blah. Yeah. But bone interpolation rate, give me a search. Model config. What is this? Test model config.json. Test resources. Wait, what is this? What am I looking at? Test metadata.json. Test model. Oh no, yeah, this is test model config.json. Yeah, that's right. Tracking.xml. We need to get rid of that. Test interpolation data. No. Model config. So all of these should be registered. Or no, is that not it? Oh, you know what? Hold on, I think I got it. So in base config, parse data, blah blah. Or no, it's in. When did these get registered? I don't remember. Oh no. Config manager. So setup class, blah blah. Oh, I see. I think it's this. It's this one. I need to register the config with the pub sub, no matter what. So if we do it like the, maybe not. Hold on. Register all configs with pub sub. I think I can still do this. Like, it doesn't matter what the result is. Yeah. Something like this, and then we can do var result like that. So when we run all the scripts, this should still be. Ooh, I thought I saw some red there, but maybe I saw that. Hold on. That made me nervous. Ooh, okay, that's good. I think I know what that was. Yeah. Every now and then, when running the extension manager tests, when you run them out of order, I think they just kind of crash sometimes. But we won't worry too much. So let's push this. I think I have some idea. Alright, so get status, get diff. What's the diff? Oh. Yeah, that's probably it. That's probably fine. Get status, get commit, fix up, get rebase. right, one more time. I think I got it. It's because in every single run, it wasn't actually, or in the interpolation data runs, it wasn't actually running the stuff. It wasn't actually, what's the word? It wasn't actually registering the appropriate signals during testing. All right. All green, please. Oh, and it's using Godot 3.4. That's fine. Yeah, let's go. All green. And by all green, I mean a little bit of red, but that's because there are some intentional errors in the tests. Tests are finally working. Hooray. That's a good feeling. All right, now we can get started on the GUI. So, GUI, I think we can get rid of this old GUI thing, but oh, for now we can just get rid of it, that's fine. Lip sync manager, I think I've already added that to the resources, so that's something else I can just get rid of. Right, so resources, no, that's test resources. Wait. What's going on? Yeah, no, that's the test resources. Yeah. So real-time lip sync. Oh, okay. I just made the entry for it. I didn't actually didn't actually write. Yeah. So the INI files are here, but there's nothing actually there for it. So we'll keep it like that for now. No, let's do the GUI. Let's do the GUI. The hardest part. Because I think for now, I mean, we're in an okay place. But for the default runner, this is just a script. So we will just have the app manager hanging out, basically floating, if you will. So default runner extends runner trait. We have all of this stuff, blah blah. So you can call setup logger, setup config, setup scene. So these are all your overrides. Yeah, and then there's try load model as well. And then try load model just tries to load the model. Phenomenal. Yeah, so what does it do? Yeah, it finds all the loaders. Okay, this one's kind of hard for me to read actually. So it checks to see if it exists or if the path is valid. It looks for all the loaders. It checks for the extension in the loaders. Yeah. Then method name file extension. So this, what does this return? Finds all loaders. Implements on the runner along with loaders from plugins. Yeah. And then they must be in format load whatever. Yeah, so load GLB, load scene, load text scene. Yeah. Maybe I can have another thing on runner trait then. So if we are doing GUI, we can do like a load GUI. And so what you can try to do is either try to inject in a GUI So from the landing screen. Yeah, so from landing screen, maybe I can adjust that so you can potentially pick which GUI to use. Maybe. I'm trying to, I'm talking my way through it. What is summary? That's a gut thing, I think. So landing screen. So each button that I generate, so if we look at it, right? We go here, wow, default runner VRM runner. And then for each button I generate, it could just be generated as a kind of like an invisible button. And then along with a, or maybe like instead of like immediately sending you to this screen, you can select a GUI, perhaps. So it hits you with a pop-up like, okay, you know, do you want to select a GUI? And I think that's something that we can always add to the INI files. So there's a few additional things, or a few additional options, I should say, for the extension manager. So find in extensions or query extensions for type, and then this gives you an array of extension resource, and then extension resource is just the resource name, type, and then entry points. But then I can also set like just additional data. So everything else in the section that is not relevant, you know, it can just be like a dictionary. So additional information, if you will. What is temp? That's fine. So for this config INI, which is the VRM1, yeah, doesn't this, when it loads it in, by the way, I need to check, I don't remember. Has section key, blah, blah. Is there a way for me to iterate through section keys? I don't remember. Let me see. Godot config file. Give me the deets. I desire details. Okay, so we can get section keys and then iterate through the rest of them if need be. Yeah, let's do that. So extension resource, or add resource. Add resource gives you, what is E? Extension. Okay. Okay, and that's all generated from this thing. Yeah, and then we set it afterwards. I remember that, unfortunately. So extension. When did we create the extension? Extension. Okay. So extension. So extension add resource. So we have the extension here, and then we can just add more stuff to it. No. So the extension, I need to update the docs because I keep getting confused. So let's do it now. Extensions.markdown. That's not how you do it. Extensions. Isn't this how you do it? Yeah, extensions. So what we're doing is all extensions are handled by, okay, hold on. Table of contents. Yeah, table of contents. table of contents. And then that should just be generated, so I don't care about that. So get it with a summary. And then this should also be omitted in the docs. So basically, extensions are all managed by an extension manager singleton. And extension is scoped by its containing folder and can contain 0 to many what are the other things? 0 to many resources. This is represented by the extension class, which can contain extension resources. And then isn't it, it's like create table of contents, and then I'll just slap this here. One of these. So there's the summary. Look at that. So extension manager. There's extension. What else is there? What other extension things are there? So there's, oh, and there's also an extension context. Oh no. All right, where is extension context used? I don't remember. Does the, okay, so the extension context is stored in the extension. The extension will also contain exactly one extension context. All right, maybe with an update. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. This class handles, or let's do handles initial parsing and loading of all extensions located in the resources extensions directory. Or a singleton that okay, so parsing is done by reading in config.ini files, which defines all the, what are the things that we can possibly have? This is extension context, we don't want this. Where is the high level architecture? Give me this. So all of the runner, model, tracker GUI. What is a resource config? Oh, resource config is just the config, yeah. And plug in resources. Contained in the extension. Yeah. After parsing is completed, or an appropriate section is created. An appropriate extension class is created for each folder, because duplicate folders are generally impossible on every OS. We can guarantee that extensions will have a unique name. Once again, a good example of how the English language is very strange. You don't say an unique, it's a unique, because unique actually makes the Y sound, which is not a vowel sound. Unique, uniform, it's not an uniform, it's a uniform. How fancy. Let's see. So in the extension manager, the manager provides several helper functions for accessing extensions. I think extensions are already pre-sorted, right? Or no, extensions are not actually pre-sorted. For functions for accessing extensions, as well as for extensions to access their own resources. For accessing extensions. Most importantly, extensions must access their own resources through the extension manager, as extensions cannot use the standard Godot res resource path syntax. This is because extensions are loaded at runtime and are not included in the exported build. Well, I guess they technically are. They're not are loaded at runtime and are not indexed in Godot's virtual file system. Yeah, okay. I'm writing this for mostly me, because I am 100% not going to remember. It's so hard. It's so tough. let's see, extension. What does extension create? Or what does extension have? So we look here. Contains information about all the resources contained in the extensions directory. This class also holds the context directory. So the extension, hold on, extension context. Okay, so holds the extension context. The extension class. Hooray. Which allows for extension resource files like .gd to be accessed. Yeah. So add resource. So all resources are pre-sorted based on their type. So there are runners, puppets, trackers, GUIs, and then plugins. And I believe that these things are actually resource name to string. Hold on. Wait a minute. What are these used for? So resources. What are these used for, by the way? Do I ever use this? So we add it. Res name. Okay. Okay, yeah, it's a resource name. Oh yeah, this is an array. It's not a dictionary. I was looking at it. I was very confused, but yeah, pre-sort resources. These all refer to something in the resources dictionary. Yeah. These sorted resources are all stored in a resources dictionary. An add resource function is exposed but should not be used outside of the extension manager, as this is used for loading or for registering resources listed in the config ini file. Beautiful. All right. Almost done. This is one of the more boring parts, but it is also one of the very, very necessary parts. Look at that. It's beautiful. I think it's also written pretty decently. I'm not a technical writer, although it would be nice to get like technical writer training at some point. Like, I think I'm okay at technical writing. I think I'm pretty okay at it. Could be a lot worse. A lot better than a lot of technical people, I can say that for sure. If only because like big blocks of text, hard to read. At the very least, I'm pretty liberal with my use of like new lines. But oh, hello Nova. Hello, hello. What's up? What I am working on today is, let me see. I'm working on this application. So look at that. Wow. So it's the rewrites. So I'm trying to add the GUI. I've tabled the very fancy HTML style UI for now, if only because I think that requires, like, if I had to make a guess, I think I'm about 50% done with that. I'm about 50% done, and I've spent like 2 weeks writing it already. Not really feeling it. So we're just gonna go full manual, at least for the first build. And I'll just continue patching it up in the background, because I think that requires a lot more work. But in the meantime, I'm trying to get my documentation under wraps, because after not looking at this code for roughly like a month, I am just completely lost. Even though, like, I think it's a good thing that I have like pretty extensive doc strings from most of this stuff. It was still pretty hard for me to get back into this, especially with the extension stuff, which is very confusing. So that's what I'm doing. I do like writing documentation though. I actually got paid to write documentation. Well, I wish I got paid to write documentation and also got like the same amount of pay. Because I could be a technical writer, but I know that technical writers don't get paid as much as me. But I like doing it. It's fun. Makes me feel good. It's easy. All you gotta do is describe what it does, which is pretty much what I do anyways. So I have a live preview of it on the right. Sharing resources in the config ini file. Yeah. Extension context. So the extension context is, so the extension system that I have set up for this, by the way, is fairly complicated, unfortunately, because of the fact that it allows for just random runtime loading. And then also one of the unfortunate bits about runtime loading files in Godot. So Godot sets up a virtual file system for all your resources when you export your game, which means, I've actually noted this here, because it sets up a virtual file system, you cannot access them using the resource : / syntax, right? And also because it's runtime loaded, it's very difficult to just use an absolute path as well. So what I've done instead is I have set up a system where you have everything registered. So you have your entry points, and then you also have a context, all handled on a big extension resource. Which is, a little confusing. So you have your extension resources, which contains pointers to other files. Those files must use the extension context after that to load in additional files. Although I think if you wanted to like brute force it, you could just use, I think, project. No, I'm trying to think of how you would make this work without using a manually managed context. I guess you could try to do, I think it's like os get exe, yeah, get executable path, and then you can just try to load in things based off that executable path, but that won't work that well in test unless you do things like, unless you just have some sort of separation between the two. Although maybe I could do that. Maybe that might be a bit easier, but that'll be for later. So instead, I just do this. Gotta head out. Quick BRB. No worries, I've just been talking to myself this entire time anyways. It helps me keep me sane. Or helps keep me sane and also on track. So extension context. There's already a doc string in there, but that's fine. Let's see. A helper class that stores the root directory of the extension. This holds helper functions for this holds helper functions for loading in resources based off of the context, the root directory. Context, aka root directory. Yeah, and then the extension resource, that one's pretty easy. This one is a struct style class that holds information from a section in the config ini file. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Look at that. It's beautiful. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. That feels pretty good. Anyways, get yeeted. Now, I think I need to modify this so that you can have just random, like basically additional extension thingies. So parse extension section, this one I explicitly call out the type and the entry points. And then there's your extension resource. And then your extension contains other extension resources, and then that can be so extension resource, what I need to do is open that up, extension resource, so var basically like other, right? So you can just have other information stored on your extension. Yeah. Then in parse extension section, we have our extension resource, which is a reference. So, and then here we get section keys. We iterate over that section. So section name. So for I in config file dot get section keys for the section name. So if we'll call it key, right? For key in section keys, if key in type or config, or actually, hold on. config section keys type. Section keys, and I can iterate over the values actually. So I don't even need to reconstruct this, I think. Yeah, type entry point GD native. Yeah, we don't need that information. So for key in, if key in config section keys values, then we'll just continue. So we pre-filter them. Then, what we'll do is extension resource other is equal to key, or extension resource other key is equal to c get section key, or get value. So section name key. Yeah. Which means that we can then start loading in arbitrary information based off of the extension resource. Now, I need to check. How do we access the extensions? So, how does VRM access its own stuff? So VRM loads in, finds in extensions, VRM, blah, blah. I think I can probably, I'm thinking about it actually. I don't think I need this script. VRM loader we still need. So I need some way of moving that into this extension as well. I think that's probably fine, actually. That's probably fine. But here, I think I can do something like basically like something like selectable GUI is equal to true. I think you can do something like that. So will this still load in? Will this still parse correctly? Oh baby, and then we can load it in like this. Wow. Okay. Cool. And then I need to check in the ready function. Actually, in default runner traits, there is ready. Okay. Here, let me check em find in extensions. So em extension manager. I don't need to load in any resources. I don't need to load in any context either. I guess we can just do like a get extension, which is just a wrapper for accessing extensions. Yeah, I think that's probably good. Func get extension. So extension name. So this will give you back a result, right? So get extension name. So this will return so var extension is equal to extensions get extension name, which is an extension, obviously. So if not extension, or I don't like using falsy truthy in Godot anymore. Ever since I realized that sometimes it's been biting me in the butt. So if extension is null, then we'll do return result error extension not found. So extension blah blah blah. Extension does not exist. I already have an error for that. So error code extension does not exist. Extension name. Else will return result. Okay. Extension. Yeah, there we go. I think that's extremely self-explanatory, so I am not going to put a doc string for it. You know what? Let's add a doc string. Why not? It makes me feel productive. Look at it. Lines of code present in the application. Oh, it's so fancy. I'm so fancy. Null safe wrapper for getting an extension. So params extension name, the extension to get corresponds to the folder name. Return result extension. The extension. Yeah. Okay. So here we'll do results. So am em get extension. I think it's called like VRM. Okay, actually, how are they stored? Are they stored extension name? Or actually, this does not correspond to the folder name. Corresponds to the config, to the name in config.ini. Yeah, maybe I should do it based off of the folder name, but that actually makes this a bit misleading as well. The extension's name is defined in the config ini file. This means that even though duplicate folders are generally impossible, extensions can still overwrite other extensions. If given the same name. Yeah, that seems like a that seems like a problem, but maybe that's just me. Maybe I should change it. Well, no, that's not my problem. Like, you can have a very fancy folder name and then have, you know, just a really short accessor. Yeah, I think that's fair. It's better to do it the folder way because you guarantee that it will be unique, usually. But, you know, so it goes, you know? So unwrap, and then this will give you an extension. And then, because it's on the runner, VRM runner, next resource is equal to extension resources. I think this is VRM runner. I just want to check what's on it. So logger info string extension resource other. I'm curious as to what's contained inside of it. Okay, so that's invalid get index resources. Really? So that did not unwrap correctly. Really? Okay. Okay. AMEM get extension. Oh, actually, I see. It's because it doesn't exist. Yeah, it's VRM. All right, one more time. Send me. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Selectable GUI is true. Okay, so that parsed correctly. Neat. Which means that we have access to just a bunch of stuff. Yeah, that's neat. So now I have the ability to define arbitrary information on it, which means that can be used on the landing screen as well in order to customize the functionality, if you will. Yeah. All right. Anyways, I'll be right back. I'm gonna refill my drink. All right, we're back. Okay. We're back. So on runner button pressed. So I guess there's a few things that we need to do. One is if we have the ability to select a GUI, and I think we should have the ability to select a GUI. Yeah, so let me do i.other.get. What is the key I'm looking for? Selectable GUI. Let's put that in global constants. Constants. Where is global constants? So get rid of this extension resource. That's fine. Global constants. So const selectable GUI. Selectable GUI. Selectable GUI or false. So it might not always exist. If it doesn't exist, we'll just do it as false. That's easy. We'll do the same thing here as well. Well, actually, no. This one is pretty easy, right? Just connect it to true. So this one, on runner button pressed, use selectable GUI, which is a Boolean. So if not use selectable GUI, we'll just run the runner, right? Oh, hello Nova, welcome back. Yeah. So how this works now is that I guess it's just like with the config file, it's also possible just to define arbitrary data inside of your config stuff. Stuff that wasn't, I guess, originally defined to be present. I don't know if that's like intentionally spaghettifying my code, but it's all right. You can take the programmer out of the enterprise, but you can't take the enterprise out of the programmer. So else, what we can do here is we can pop up something. So let's do GUI selection pop up. So what are we doing here? What we're doing is we're gonna run GUI selection pop up 100%. Then the hard part is asking what's going to be in the GUI selection pop up. So canvas pop-up probably is going to be a pop-up dialog. Is it going to be a pop-up dialog, or maybe I should just use like confirmation dialog, file dialog? I think I want to have confirmation. Probably window dialog. What's the difference between a pop-up dialog and a window dialog? Pop-up dialog. Yep, that's pretty useful. Yep. Really glad I checked the documentation for that. All right. Pop-up dialog. Yep. That's it. I've used neither, but would be interested to find out what each does. So I know I've used file dialog a few times. File dialog, very familiar with it. And then for accept dialog, I believe that also I've used that here. Or actually, like I use file dialog here. You can tell because it's not themed at all. And then I also use a pop-up dialog for starting the tracker on Linux because lots of people miss it. And for whatever reason, whenever people see a pop-up dialog, they always close it immediately, so they never read it. But at least with a pop-up dialog, it's no longer in my control, so I don't care. Oh, you know what? No, a pop-up dialog is used by a pop-up button. That's the difference. I remember now. Yeah. So pop-up, or it's not a pop-up button. It's used by an options button, I think. Or is it a menu button? Maybe it's an option. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. Anyways, I think what I want is a window dialog. So I am just kind of doing it manually like this for now, just so I know what it looks like. So if we're doing it like this, yeah, pop-up dialog's pretty sick. I know in Godot 4 they're going to be even cooler because they'll actually be separate windows as opposed to just like application windows, I suppose. So there'll be OS windows instead of application windows. Because as you might have noticed that for all of these all just pop up like inside the application. You can't drag it outside of it. But in Godot 4, they should be like completely separate, which is neat. All right, but what am I doing here? I think I want a... No, oh, you know what? This should be a confirmation dialog. Hold on. Because the idea is, right? The idea is... Oh, and then this is gonna break because, yeah, there's nothing to pop up. Yeah, but whenever you click on the button and the runner is tagged for having a selectable GUI, and then maybe I should also add a button that's like just use the default, right? But we can do that later. I think yeah, I should have a button that's just like use the default GUI that's tagged for this, but you can also try to use another GUI if there's another one available. which is how I'm going to do like the separation between the built-in GUI and my own GUI. I think I got distracted there. I was talking about something else and now I'm just completely lost. What was I talking about before? Window dialog. And then probably like a confirmation dialog. So you'll have all of these things, pop-ups, yes. Oh, you know what? And then I remember. This just gives you access to this. Oh. I remember now. I remember why I only ever use window dialogues. It's because you don't actually have total access to this node. Yeah. That's the tough part. I remember for my little pixel art editor plugin, in order to get like custom actions working inside of like the built-in nodes, I had to instance the node, don't add it to the scene tree, but then start modifying the children before I actually added it. Yeah, so these nodes are all very, very specialized. So I should actually be using, yeah. If you're using pop-ups, you almost always just want to use a window dialog. Right, because I think accept dialog is the same thing. Yeah, you only have a text field to work with, which is inconvenient to say the least. Yeah, I think it makes sense for most people's use cases, I think. So like if you need anything fancier, then you should just be using a window dialog. So then you want to do a margin, so margin 1010, 1010. So in this way, what we're doing is we're kind of emulating the built-in window dialog stuff. I think Godot's built-in theme uses 7557, I think. Where those are the margins. Yeah, 7557. Or is it 5775? Or 7575, whatever. I don't remember what the built-in theme looks like. I always just use 10 all across the board. You know what? Maybe I will just pre-make the GUI selection dialog because there's not that many screens. I only ever have, yeah, I have the default runner, then I have the landing screen, and then I can have like a GUI selector. Yeah, let's just call this GUI selector. But I would also much rather just create this via code as well. Okay, we'll just keep this on the screen. We'll go over here. Actually, no, we won't. We'll go over here. So var pop-up. This will be a window dialog new, and then we'll just start constructing this via code. GUI selector. Yes, GUI. GUI goober. Pop up, add child. No, var margin container. Margin container. So margin left 10. So it's margin top, margin right, margin bottom. All right, cool. So pop up. At the very end, pop up, add child, margin container. Okay, and then in between that, we need to start constructing the V blocks. So it'll look like this. It's gone now, but just trust me, it exists. So the warning is that you cannot do this. You cannot just, pop-ups are hidden by default, and then you must call pop-up later. So if you do like a pop-up add child, or no, you'll need to do add child pop-up, and then hit it with like a pop-up. I usually do pop-up centered ratio. That's usually pretty good. Although if you want to have more specific functionality, there's other pop-up functions. And then you'll also need to remember to connect the various pop-up stuff. So, you know what? I probably do need like a custom script because there's no way to, well, I could just add buttons and then manually connect them all as well. You know what? We're gonna do it here. That's fine. Gui Selector. I think actually how Godot's editor works is that it just has all the pop-ups pre-cached. I think I've seen that before when I was poking around with the plugin stuff. And so it doesn't actually instance in any new pop-ups. It just kind of has them hiding somewhere, and then it doesn't delete them. It just hides them again. I want to say that's how Godot's pop-up system works. Because of course the editor is written with the existing UI system. Alright, so Gui Selector. Yeah, we'll just slap it here, that's fine. Welcome to the team. But I think I prefer doing things like this. So pop up. Preload, whatever the heck this is. Oh, geez. Preload me the GUI selector, and then I need to add a script to the GUI selector. Oh, no. It doesn't have a set type? Ooh. That's fine. I trust you. So GUI selector, pop-up centered ratio. Actually, you also need to do add child pop-up, and then this should allow me to add a script to this. Structured. Then we'll have a few signals, or just the one signal, which is like selected. Nothing else on it. Okay. Then, yeah, then I need to fill this out with all the possible GUI things that are registered. So there's of course going to be the default one, in the same way that there's already a default runner. And then in every single extension, or extensions have the ability to define their own GUIs as well. It might be a bit over-engineered now looking back at it, but that's fine. It's a very flexible system if I can get it all working. Where is it? Landing screen. We'll do this entire query. Where is it? Yeah. So we'll grab all of this. So on ready. Now we're not looking for runners. We're looking for GUI. I should probably put these into the global constants thing I have here as well. Oh, I do have this. Yeah, there we go. Phenomenal. So this is global constants, extension types GUI. Then in landing screen, this should be runner. So global constants, extension types, runner. So this should still load in fine. Yeah, because VRM runner is not one of the defaults. That's actually runtime loaded. And I also verified that this does work in exported form as well. And I think if I just pull this out somewhere else, so say in, where's my documents folder? Documents. I also have it on my quick bar, but that's fine. Or quick access bar, not my quick bar. If I move all of this stuff here, it takes a little bit. It takes a little bit. It's a pretty big binary. Mostly because of OpenCFace taking forever, but look at that. Yeah. So all of this loads in. I believe VRM runner should just work, but default runner 100% loads in correctly. I think VRM runner appears to just break, but that's fine. Oh yeah, hard crash, that's good. What happened? Oh, file not found. That's fair. I don't remember why, but that's for future me to figure out. File not found usually means, yeah, it just means the file is not found, actually. Yeah. Maybe it's because I didn't export it. Hold on. That's making me very concerned. VRM. Oh, it's because of... maybe? Maybe? Oh yeah, it's almost 100% because of this. This doesn't actually exist right now. So it needs to refer to a file. Yeah, I even have a note for it. I remember, I saw it. Note, to do. This is hard coding for testing, yeah. So it turns out I should probably read my notes more. So where I in this query extensions for type things that are GUIs, we will do, what are we doing? We're adding buttons. So there's the default one, which is the default, it's the built-in GUI that exists for, that I just ship with it, which is the thing that I'm gonna be building. So let's do that now. And by that now, I mean, delete this entire folder. Ooh. Files being removed are required by other resources in order for them to work. GUI. Notification manager. Okay, so first we need to yeet the notification manager. I'm still rewriting that, but I have my old code available here, or already pulled up here. So notification manager. Yeah, so now, get ready. I wasn't using that stuff anyways. Delete everything in GUI. And then create the GUI again. Look at that, just an empty GUI folder. All right, so Gui Selector doesn't do anything right now, but because I don't have a default, so let's add it to do. Add the default GUI as an option. Okay, then in here, how did I have this working before? I think I just had like everything in one mega folder. Yeah. And then all the elements are also in a mega folder. Oh, thank you for redeeming a hydrate. Let's do that. Drink a bit more. That was only like 100 milliliters. That was like one gulp. Maybe one day I can be finished with this. I can go back to making games. Because this is analytics poison for sure. But I'm committed. I'm committed. So let's see. GUI. So you'll have your elements, and then you just have your random GUI stuff. So maybe this should just be like, I think you still need to have all your elements in a big elements folder. Analytics poison. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. You know, if we're talking like inside baseball, right? You know, I do keep track of my viewer numbers at some level, right? But it's back when I streamed more game development, I was able to average a slightly higher viewer count. Still pretty low, but doing this VRM stuff, it's like oof. It's a niche within a niche. It's like a niche within a niche within another niche, because it's like you're not using Unity, so like you lose out on that crowd. I guess you're also losing out on the other crowd of like people who want to make games but aren't sure where to start. So, one, not using a super popular engine, although it was helpful at the very start when there were less Godot streamers. But I'm not making games. And so there's almost nobody makes like tooling in Godot for whatever reason, even though I think Godot is a great piece of software for making tooling. Only because it's so easy to make software. Base elements. This needs to be some sort of control, by the way. But you know, it's one of those things where I know people don't really want to watch it, but it's like I want to work on it. That's what he meant by analytics poison. As long as you're enjoying what you're doing, I really enjoy checking in on you. Thank you, thank you. Thanks, Mom. Much appreciated. Yeah. Yeah, I work on it because I want to work on it, but, you know. You can't just do things. Well, you can just do things if you don't care about viewer numbers, but it would be nice sometimes. But also you have to be realistic enough to acknowledge that sometimes you're just not doing things that are popular, and that's fine. So like a smarter person would have pivoted, but I'm not a smarter person. Also, I don't do this for like a job, so it does help, I suppose. So elements. Yeah, not whining or anything, by the way. I don't want it to come off as me whining, by the way. But just an observation. So I feel like most of this I don't need. Like this was pretty like hard coded for my old UI system, right? Because my old UI system was based off of like very, very specific XML files, which I thought was cool. But was also a bit wonky. You're coming up as whining, but I get you. Yeah. You know. Sometimes I miss having 5 to 7 viewers. It gets lonely sometimes. You know. And so it goes. Because who in their right mind would ever work on software in their free time instead of making games? Maybe that's a sign I'm getting old, but I don't know. Base element, panel container. I don't think this this doesn't need to be a panel container. It just needs to be a control, and then I can kind of wiggle it into whatever I need it to be. Yeah. I think. Is that how that works? Yes. No. Maybe. I'm not sure, actually. Is this what I want to do? Because then I don't have access to the things I normally would have access to. Like, it needs to be specific enough that I can do stuff. Okay, so this is base element. Yeah, I work on software. I'm actually going to do that tonight. Oh, baby. Everyone loves a good piece of software. Thinking. Extends. Okay, so these were all attached to elements. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, actually, yeah. What am I thinking? I don't need to have access to everything right here because this is just the base script. But yeah, more inside baseball is that like I think before when I was just working on this for like a month, I still was able to maintain a little bit of viewership, right? But as the months dragged on, all the people that were there for a game dev were like, all right, well, we'll check in every now and then, but if you know, unless you're doing game dev, you know, sorry, not interested. That's all right. That's that's fair enough. You're here for one thing. I get it. Makes sense, etc. But on the other hand, right? On the other hand, I think this piece of software was also the thing that I guess got me the most clout on GitHub, which for whatever that's worth. So you win some, you lose some, I suppose. You win some, you lose some, and I think this is also one of the things you always kind of see written about, like online. Like if you are working on a piece of open source software in general, like this is one of the ways they tell you to like, you know, advertise yourself is like if you are okay with you know, talking, or maybe not even talking, but like having other people watch over your shoulder while you program and you're working on open source stuff, then you should stream it. And I was like, no problem. Not a problem for me, but I do know that some people get nervous. A little bit of performance anxiety. But see, that's the trick, is that you can't have performance anxiety if you have no expectations of your own work. Logger error. So get value not yet implemented. So this is just name. Should be fine. Hard to say. Set value. That can be the rubber duck you talk at. No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm already my own rubber duck. That's why I have turned into a rubber duck, as all good programmers do. You know what they say. You either die a hero or become the duck. There was a better punchline. I had a better punchline in mind, but then I like forgot like the saying, and I was like, wait a minute. I thought of the saying, thought of a punchline, started saying it, and then just forgot what the saying was. I'm trying to do 3 things at once. It's not working. Because I'm trying to figure out which parts of this I need. Like, I don't need this part. I don't need these callbacks. I think is disabled might be good. Duck. All right. No, an upside down rubber duck. Very good. Isn't it weird when like when you think of a duck, you either think of like, usually you think of like a like either a rubber duck or like a mallard. Are there other types of ducks? I've never really considered that, but like, yeah. I just thought of it just now. I was like, what other types of ducks are there? Setup function. I remember this. This was pretty wild. This one was pretty wild. I think I actually don't need this. Let's just start let's start writing something, and then I'll hopefully get an idea of what I want for this more hard-coded variant. because the GDML stuff is actually more or less good to go. It just needs to be refactored once really quickly in order for like nested GDML files to be possible. I'm still thinking about it though. That's why I don't want to rewrite the UI in GDML just yet. So this needs to be just a regular control. We'll call this like the default GUI. Oh no, a clip. We'll watch the clip on my other stream monitor. Hopefully it doesn't come through on my microphone. Man, I don't realize how slowly I talk, by the way. I'm sorry. I'll try to be better. I'll try to be better. Or maybe that's just something that bothers me. I remember in school when we were doing a like all of the the presentation stuff is one of the few classes I actually found to be useful in the real world, is like presentation classes, because that's pretty much what I do in my day-to-day. And so they like forced us to like record ourselves, so you had to like talk in front of people, and they would just give you like random stuff to present on. And they're like, this is a business course, by the way, and they like, you got graded by like the professor, you got graded by the TAs. They even brought in like just consultants who were doing give back, I guess, and they would give you pointers on what you were doing right, what you were doing wrong. And like I never got any like comments on the pauses in between the sentences I say. I more got comments on my propensity to do stuff like that. where it's very obvious when I'm thinking, because when I start thinking, I don't do like the right? But I'll do things. Well, I do the like thing, right? I'll do like whatever, but it's more obvious because I'll like stretch out the end of words, or I'll do something like that where I'll just kind of hang on to the end. Yeah, that's the same thing. I'll stretch onto the end of words. I'll repeat the same thing but rephrase it, or I'll use a very long word instead, which is, I don't know. I'm kind of into it. But I've never gotten the comments on like having a long pause. So I guess, I don't know, maybe long pauses are fine. But that's one of the things that's always bothered me. So yeah, now here I sit talking in front of folks for fun. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things, it's hard to teach, right? It's one of those things you just have to force yourself to get better at, and then like also, you know, watch yourself and, you know, critique your own performance, because you are, of course, always going to be your own harshest critic, for better or worse. But I don't know. Like everyone has their own verbal tics. Like you can train the verbal tic out of yourself for sure. Like I've seen it happen. Like one of the verbal tics I've tried to train out, and it's probably been replaced with like the long pauses. Is so instead of saying I'll do like this. So I'll like prepend to the start of a word, or I used to have a really bad habit of prepending to the start of a word. Some of these long pauses might just be me taking a sip, by the way, so I don't know. So I'll do like, I'm thinking of something like this. So I don't do like a full but I'll I'll start to do the and then transfer into the full word. One of those things. So we'll full rect, and then bottoms up. Don't know that I really like your cadence. Oh, thank you. Thanks again, Mom. Your support is always appreciated. So 5, 5, -5, -5. Yeah, so what I'm thinking of doing, by the way, I should probably sketch it out really quick. But what I was imagining for the new GUI, right? So you'll have like your duck. Your duck will look like this. So there's your duck. It's like a big snowman, essentially. Yeah, you know what? Isn't a duck is like a big snowman? There's your duck. Oh no. Yeah, that's like a duck. And then for the rest of the GUI, we'll do the GUI in blue. So what it will look like is we'll just have like a big top bar. Okay, hold on. Fill one of these. It's not filling. Ah. Oh, sorry. Oh, as you can do... No. What? Ooh. Ooh. Solid color. Ooh. Excuse me? So there's your duck. Yeah, I'm an artist, by the way. Am I going crazy? Can you not fill with this rectangle tool? Oh, it's the second color. I knew that. Anyways. So you do something like that, and then we'll have a bunch of buttons. So it'll be like your standard, I guess, taskbar, maybe. I think I prefer having a top bar to a... I don't know. Is a top bar preferable to a sidebar? I don't know. You figured out just as I was typing it? What, I'm an artist, or should it be like a top bar? GUI design is something that I'm not very proficient at, to be sure. So the idea is that you'll have a bunch of buttons or whatever, and then each button can lead to like a different pop-up menu. So everything will be pop-up driven, right? Yeah. And then you can have multiple pop-up windows just kind of hanging out, because the current system is a little clumsy, to be sure, because we just kind of like wiggle through windows on the side. Like it's very Diablo style, I think. Or is it Diablo style? Yeah, it might be Diablo style. For options for this program, I think it's best to have the option of the edges of the screen as possible, so we can crop them out via OBS filters. Well, I think that's also one of the interesting things, is because, well, I don't know actually. Like, would you really want to crop it out via OBS? Or wouldn't you just want to have it like this, and then, like, you don't need to crop anything out, like, because you usually have the controls hidden anyways, right? So it's more of just like a really quick config thing. And I also wrote a thing for Gizzo. Let me find it. We can find it, spouts. What is this? I wrote a engine module for Gizzo. So what spout does is it actually sends your texture straight to OBS. So even though you like might have the GUI just kind of hanging out here, what's actually sent to OBS, or what's actually captured by OBS, is everything behind the GUI. I like to leave some of the controls open, like props, for example, and just crop them out so peeps can't see them. That's interesting. That's interesting. I got bad news for you. I think with the pop-up system I have in mind, I think that should be possible anyways, because then you can just kind of wiggle them over to the side. So as opposed to doing things like this, where they're just kind of anchored in place, which is easier to work with for sure. What you can instead do is you'll click on a thing. I don't really know. How do you do other things? Oh, okay. You'll do like main. It's beautiful. And then it'll hit you with just the big box. It'll pop up like that. And then you can just, yeah. If it pops, you can scooch them over. Yeah, that's my new idea for the default GUI. I thought it would be better to do it Diablo style, but yeah. How does VC Face do it, actually? I haven't used VC Face in forever. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this if you were, but like the main impetus for me working on my own program was because there wasn't like an easy to read open source program. Like the only other open source one I can think of is VMagick Mirror. Yeah. And where's the GitHub? Where's the Malay Baku? Yeah, but this is in, one, it's in Japanese, but two, it's in Unity. It looks very intimidating. It looks like it also uses a bunch of, I don't know, like custom resources, which seems a bit confusing. Like, man, like people tell me that like my program is complicated, but man, have you never seen like a have you never seen a Unity project? Look at this. Look at how many folders there are. Anyways, yeah. So that's why I made this. That's why I made this. But then going back to the GUI thing, if you are trying to capture to OBS and you want to have a GUI open, I do plan on releasing a build of this that uses Spout GD integrated into it. Yeah. It needs a bit more tweaking to actually be usable as a regular Spout module, but for this it should be good enough. For just sending, it can't receive, but we can send. I think receiving might be a bit tough. Because Godot intentionally hides a lot of the lower level stuff necessary for swapping textures on the fly. Alright, so you'll have a top bar. Or I wonder if I can do something like a V split container. So V split container. We'll have it just do top wide, no margin, bottom down. Actually, no, we can do this just full rect. Why not? And then if you put a panel container into that, oh, that's just a regular panel. We don't want that. But a panel container. Can't I split this like this? Oh no, you can't. You would need to have an empty thing to split on, right? So you could put like an empty control in here, something like that. And then you would have the ability to drag your top bar bigger or smaller. That doesn't seem like a good idea. Yeah, you know what? That's not a good idea. I thought it'd be neat, but upon further thinking, that doesn't make any sense at all. Or does it? You know what? The more I think about it, the more I like it. Is the ability to what does collapse mean? Oh, okay. Is the ability to do this. Is to wiggle your GUI up and down. So it could also be slightly reactive as well. So once you get to like a big enough minimum size, you could have additional information just pop up or display additional information as well. That could be cool. That could be cool. Could be cool. So it looks something like that. We'll call it roughly 69. Nice. And there's your top bar. So it's contains a V-split container, which contains just a top panel container, which will then also contain an H-box container inside of it, which will then contain buttons, which correspond to the various menus I have defined here. So there's model, tracking, features, preset, and app settings. And then I suppose... No, I think that's what I'm going to do it, because this is going to be the default. And then I'll just have to hurry up and release GDML at some point. Yeah, there we go. So that was the model button. Text, model. How nice. Da, da, da. It was 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this was tracking, features. I suppose, actually, you know what? We can have more buttons. So there's bones, model, thinking, thinking, bones. So, okay, hold on. Model. I feel like bones should still be part of model, but maybe it's just better to have this be a different button, because since I'm no longer constrained to, you know, displaying things on 2 panels, I think it should be okay. Yeah, now we can just have way more buttons. And then also, might have to make this into a scroll container. And then also possibly try to make this reactive if possible. Or maybe this should be like a side container, so we'll go like left to right. Yeah, you know what? That probably makes more sense. I don't know what I want to do for the UI. I don't know what I want to do. Because I feel like this would be better as a vertical list if you're already making it like so. So this should be like an H split container. And then this is now a VBox container, which means that we can then we can wiggle it back and forth for no reason at all, really. Make it at 100. That feels pretty good. So there's tracking. So it's like there's model. Ooh. Okay. Maybe like these controls should actually be grouped together with these. So like model controls, like moving the model, rotating, zooming, then resetting the model transform and the pose should be grouped together with all of these options as well. So the damps, model manipulation. Well, no, because this is more of a tracking option. You know what? Now that I'm doing like a full audit of how these are set, I can see how this would be confusing for an end user as well. I've never really thought about how I've named these, but if only because I was the one who made them. This seems to happen a lot to me. Model bones. Then there's tracking, and then there's like tracking. I don't know. Because like to me, all of these fall under tracking. Like I mapped bones. That's pretty easy. Model stuff. Well, I guess this is... These all fall under tracking to me. Features are features. Or I guess this is more like props because these are there's props and then there's like built-in stuff. But I guess these are all props. Features is kind of a bad name for it for sure. Tracking. Props. Model 5, aka presets. I still have not gotten around for hotkeyed presets, by the way. Which I think, I don't remember, does VC Face have presets? Because I know that my program has presets. Let's see, scroll container. Then we'll slap this thing into the scroll container. So expand, fill, blah, blah. This should also be expand, fill. Then this thing, roughly like that, 164. Looks pretty good. This one should be app, or it's like settings, app settings. App settings, and then the last button, which is going to be about. About's pretty good. I like that. So we can try to split up these things as much as possible. They're not going to be ordered, which might bother some people, but that's fine. All right, so this is the basic thing. Let's see if this just works. That's the first thing. So add the default GUI as an option, blah, blah. Default runner, and then we'll open up the Gui Selector. So we should use the same logic here as in, not default runner, it needs to be landing screen, yes. Landing screen. Also, I've left this on. So add the default GUI as an option. We do have the default GUI. So, and then we'll construct all the buttons at runtime. Pretty easy. So, var default GUI button. Default GUI button, name. Default GUI. Button text is default GUI. Then we'll also need to connect it. Self, and then on GUI button pressed. Then also need to connect it to several of these things. So let's do a const. Oh, actually, no, this should be in global constants really quickly. Selectable GUI, then there's const default GUI path. Oh no, one of these, default GUI path. Pass this as an option, so global constants, default GUI path. I try to avoid hard-coded strings whenever possible. So on GUI button pressed. So this will be some sort of path. Yeah. And then if that path exists, then we'll try to load it in. Yeah, okay. So if the path exists, hold on. GUI selection pop-up. So on selected, whatever. At the very end, we'll emit signal. That's not how you do it. Selected. Selected, and then this should have a resource. So this is the, basically like the instance GUIs, right? I'm not sure what this is gonna load in though. Might be a bit tough. How am I doing it for this? So load path. Okay, so this just loads in the thing directly. I think this should still work, because it did kinda work for VRM in exported mode. Yeah. Or GUI. So if GUI is a packed scene, then we'll do GUI is equal to GUI instance. That's probably not a good idea. Otherwise, GUI is equal to GUI new. Yeah, I actually don't think that's valid, but like I don't think that you can switch this from this because they're different types overall, but maybe it's fine. Either way, we'll just emit this along with the GUI. So here, pop up, connect, selected to self on GUI selected. On GUI selected. See, this is where Godot 4 would be really nice, because I feel like a lot of these could probably just be a lambda, but that's just me. Like none of these really depends on anything in the class here, but whatever. On GUI selected, so this has some sort of scene. We don't know what it is, but it must be at least a node. And then we'll do the runner stuff. So run runner entry point path. Run runner. So we still don't know. we still don't know what the runner path that we selected was. We can pass it along, I guess. Yeah, we can totally pass it along. So this will be original entry point path, and then we can connect it to this original entry point path. We'll pass this along there, and then here on GUI selected, this is always connected afterwards. So path. So this will be something like runners load path, all of this stuff. Yeah, okay. So this can take in a GUI, which is some sort of node, which is null. Here we'll do, I feel like you always need to have a GUI though. I feel like you should always just have a GUI no matter what. Otherwise it doesn't make any sense. Like that can be adjusted afterwards, but all right. Yeah, this needs to be some sort of GUI. Yeah, let's try this. So we will do load global constants default GUI path instance, or no, load, and then instance it in the same thing. So we'll pass it along directly. Otherwise, on Gui Selected, what we'll do is just hit it with a runner. So path and then scene. Yeah, something like that. That makes sense to me. Send it. Okay. Non-existent. Oh, it's a pack scene. That's true. Very true. So true. Default runner. Yeah. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. What happened? What happened? What happened? Did I not add the buttons? I did not add the buttons. That makes sense. So this needs to go into the VBox container. Onready var GUI, or I guess options list. Options list. Nope. One of these. It's a VBox container. So options list add child default GUI button, and then we'll just have to do the same thing for this. So var button is equal to button new button name is equal to i dot resource name. Button text is going to be the same thing, and then button connect. We'll do it in the same way. On GUI button pressed. Should really just be like button pressed, but whatever. We'll get around to it. This will be I resource entry point. That's pretty much it. Yeah, it's just the entry points. Then we'll do options list, add a child button. Yeah, there we go. So that should be fine, I think. Default runner. There's just the default GUI. It's very ugly. Then the no GUI was loaded. What happened? Key not found, default model path. That's probably fine, I guess. Hard to say. Hard to say. Key not found. Default model path. Which is kind of a pain because we're using the app management one, so I don't know where that print originated from. What's in the remote? Yeah, so all of that looks correct. This is not loaded in properly. So here, we should have connected to all of this stuff. We connected to selected, on selected, and then it should just yeet everything just because. Like we can also do like a, hit it with a queue free really quickly. Then we can also connect to the other random pop-up stuff. So connect to like pop-up, hide, self. So like terminate, essentially. Queue free. Did you see how fast I typed that? That was, I actually surprised myself. That was very fast. Modal close. Oh, I don't think modal close is what I want. I think hide usually is a pretty good one. Or we can do for I in, pop up hide. I think also just regular hide. What other things do pop-ups have? Pop-up. So pop-up has about to show and then pop-up hide. Then there's a window dialog. There's only the close button. All right, that's fine. we'll do this. I used to find myself totally hating this method of doing connections, but now that I understand how they work, it's a lot nicer. I mean, it's still kind of painful because they're strings, but so it goes. So we pass this along, we instance it, and then we just pass, yeah, then we pass this to the selected signal. Run runner. GUI is never used. Run runner. Oh, you know what? That makes sense. I never used it. Runner. Add child. GUI. Send me. Default runner. Default GUI. It's there. And then you can also just wiggle it bigger or not if you want. Which, I don't know, that might be kind of nice. And you can click on stuff. I think that's probably pretty good. For a default one, I think that looks a lot cleaner. All I need to do is apply the default Godot theme, because a lot of Godot applications steal the default Godot theme, which is somewhat amusing. And I think we're good after that, yeah. Don't I have the default theme somewhere? So here, we do theme, quick load. Oh geez, I don't remember. I think it's default theme, that's what I want. This should, yeah, that applies the default Godot theme, and then this one we can also just do quick load, default theme. Oh, it's so ugly. There's no top bar anymore. I think I like the idea of having just like a super scuffed one of these things. Hold on. We'll make it something like that. Just make it everything 86, 86. Why not? It looks okay. Content margin, we'll do 10, 10, 10, 10. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it should be like a blue-ish. Maybe just like kind of black. I don't know. What is the... I need a color picker. Doesn't, if you just hold down this, then Windows Power Toys. Power Toys. Isn't it like, I have Windows Power Toys installed because that's how I'm able to like do this. You can't normally do that by default on Windows. Oh, actually no, I had the color picker button. It's beautiful. I have the solution right in front of me. Give me this. Yeah. Or maybe color. Maybe this one. No. Where else are buttons used? Like this is kind of an ugly shade of blue. But maybe that's okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess the other buttons just use that shade of blue as well. So default runner. Super ugly. I'm not... There's no denying it. That's not so bad, though. Yeah, I think it looks a lot cleaner as well, since everything's just kind of knocked off onto the side. And then after this, we can just start writing the GUI, I suppose. Yeah. That doesn't look horrible. I've seen worse. Which might not be the best mindset to go into this with. Yeah. I think I like that though. Yeah. Everything's just on the left side. And then it'll just spawn a pop-up that you can wiggle over if you want. I still feel like a top bar is nice though, but well, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. Anyways, I am over time. So I'm going to push my work so I don't lose it. Let's commit it. Oh, geez, look at all that. Lots of deletions. Let me run the tests really quick. Run all the tests. Send me. Whee. Oh, baby. Everything's all green. I haven't added any new tests, so that's to be expected, but you know, that's how it goes sometimes. I would also like to report that I have also fixed the CI. So we used to be just running in the red the entire time, but now the latest build, green check, feels good. So git commit. So remove, or I guess add docs for extensions, start work on GUI. Oh, look at that. Oh no. Then you look at this. Its files changed 142. It's a bit scary. It's a bit intimidating, for sure. And by a bit intimidating, I mean it's extraordinarily intimidating. I think I also should. I remember that this was an issue that someone raised, that someone was asking for the export presets. So I think I need to remove that from the git ignore really quick. So export presets, yeah, export presets. Do I have an export config? Oh no, get me out of here. Q, force. Yeah, there's just an export presets config. So let's do, I don't know what export configure is, but we'll do that. And I don't have export templates anymore, so we'll just get rid of that. And I feel like I should probably do export star star. So anything in export, we want to have the export folder, but we don't want anything that's inside of the export folder. Yeah. Add export presets to source control. Yeah, look at that. It's beautiful. Refresh me. Actually, don't refresh me. Oh no, it's gonna be so slow. But yeah. Thanks for tuning in. If you're interested in seeing the project that I've been working on. Oh, my bot broke. Well, anyways, bot's broken, but there's the project. Here's my profile. You know, there's a Discord in there somewhere. You can find it. We're all adults here, etc., etc. But yeah, I'll be live Sunday from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern time working on this again. If you haven't given the channel a follow already, I highly encourage you to do so. I stream Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, and on Wednesdays from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern time. Working on, has been this project primarily, but hopefully I'll get around to working on a game again at some point. Yeah. Let me see. How many people are here? Not enough. Yeah. Have a good night. Goodbye.